Basel Committee endorses crypto assets. And this Basel Committee is part of the Bank of International Settlements. And so they put out this announcement today. They met today, December 16th. Major announcement. The Basel Committee has published a global prudential standard for banks' exposures to crypto assets, whereby unbacked crypto assets and stablecoins with ineffective stabilization mechanisms will be subject to a conservative prudential treatment. That is a nice way of saying that we are not going to let our banks go all in on crypto, but we are recognizing crypto assets and we are going to let them hold some. Now, if you look at the PDF document that they released, the prudential treatment of crypto asset exposures is what the document is. I'm not going to read off the full document for you guys, but if you go look at it, essentially what they're saying is that these banks can hold up to 2% of their reserves in these crypto assets. Now, they're also saying that this is supposed to be implemented January 1st of 2025. So, Mr. Lucky, I think you were mistaken in 23. When I looked at the document, it said 2025. But they have kind of their working group on what they're looking to implement in 2003, 2024. But this new framework is supposed to be implemented by January 1st of 2025. But this is what the Bitcoin maxis always run with. Check this out. Bitcoin Magazine, breaking. Bank of International Settlements finalizes policy to let banks hold 2% of reserves in Bitcoin. This is what Bitcoin Magazine always does every single time. Anytime any bank, any group endorses crypto or passes crypto regulations, the Bitcoin Magazine always publishes it as if it's only exclusively Bitcoin. Like the Bank of International Settlement banks are only going to hold 2% of their reserves in Bitcoin exclusively. And this is the type of misinformation that we continue to try to fight through on a daily basis. Now, this is massive though, guys. Not only for endorsing crypto assets, but we covered this last year, right? Basel III implementation. And the new incentives that the Basel III committee was giving to banks for holding the physical gold on their balance sheets and within their vaults, within their physical possession. So basically, they're trying to limit the amount of paper assets that these banks are holding and actually have more of a physical requirement. And then you're seeing now the acknowledgement of crypto assets, very important. And in the document, they distinguish between stable coins and other types of crypto assets as well. But basically the bottom line is that they're going to be able to hold up to 2% of their reserves in crypto assets, which I think is just the beginning, right? I really think that is just the beginning. And I think that will grow as time goes on, as this space matures, and as these assets, as these cryptocurrencies become more stable. I think that you're going to see much more adoption than 2% reserves. I think it's going to grow substantially more than that. But we started covering Basel III and the Bank of International Settlements years ago because Brad Garlinghouse went to a BIS meeting back in 2019, walked into the BIS meeting with Christine Lagarde on his arm, essentially. Not actually, but metaphorically speaking, walked in there with Christine Lagarde. Best buds they are, Brad Garlinghouse and Christine Lagarde, who was the former head of the IMF. Now she's the chief of the European Central Bank. They were at the Bank of International Settlements back in 2019. And then now fast forward, we see that they've got new requirements for actually holding the physical gold. And now they have endorsed crypto assets. So I think that we've positioned ourselves accordingly by going all in on our cryptocurrencies and our precious metals that actually have real utility and are the type of assets that these banks and financial institutions are starting to hold on their balance sheet. Not only are we seeing central banks hold a record amount of gold, and we're starting to see these financial institutions, once they have regulatory clarity, are starting to adopt XRP as well, starting to hold it on their balance sheet as well. So love to see it, and we love to stay ahead of the game. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.